Hey there, everybody on YouTube land. It's Warbear90 coming at you with episode 5 of the vlog series for MTAC 2017. Um, it is a little bit after 2 in the morning. I'm going to be going to bed pretty soon. Well, I'm actually already laying in the bed, but there's actually a reason why, other than the fact that I'm tired. Earlier tonight was the Saturday night lightsaber fight, and I actually got to participate in it as you know as a bit of a sportsman kind of thing, and I got to participate in it this year because I didn't get to do so last year because I have arthritis in a lot of my most important joints, and last year my arthritis flared up so much because of the weather and the time of the year that it was. Uh, and basically I couldn't really move all that much. Oh, excuse me. That's going to be embarrassing to have however many people that watch this to see that. Anyway, like I said, I couldn't participate in it last year mainly because I didn't know that it was going to happen, and even while it was happening, I wanted to do it, but I couldn't because I couldn't move very well. So I I really didn't get to do so. But I did get to do it this year. I have my Anakin Skywalker lightsaber, the blue one that a lot of people. I've actually only had one person in the entire convention over the last 48 hours actually say, "Hey, is that Anakin's lightsaber?" Because most everybody would say, "Hey, that's Luke's lightsaber." No, if you pay close attention to the lines of the first movie, Obi-Wan himself says your father's lightsaber as he's handing it to Luke because Luke had never had it before at that time and he didn't know what it was. So, yeah. Anyway, I got to actually take part in it. I used my Anakin lightsaber and ooh, excuse me. Like I said, I'm about to crash. Anyway, the very first duel I actually participated in was against a girl that I don't know her name. I never actually got to ask, but I could tell that she was about the same skill set as I am in terms of using a sword in general. Not just a lightsaber, but a sword in general, because she was very quick and very powerful in her attacks, and she was also very strong in her defenses, which, believe me, they were every time that I would attack her with my blade, she would throw up her defenses to the point where it felt like I was trying to fight off three people at once because she was that strong with her defense. She's actually more strong defensively than she was offensively, which is a perfect balance for me because I'm fairly weak in my defense skills, but my offense skills are at least intermediate level. I'm not a master swordsman by no stretch of the imagination, but I'm not really a beginner anymore either. And I can tell that neither was she. And here's the thing: she had massive respect from me because throughout the entire time that she was sparring against other people and then sparred against me, she was wearing at least 4 inch high or 4 inch 4 inch long high heeled boots. Well, actually shoes. She was basically wearing stilettos, and she was fighting against all the guys, myself included, like a freaking pro, as if she wasn't even wearing heels at all. It was like she wasn't even wearing shoes at all. I mean, she flowed that naturally with it. She was that good with it. And she and I, after our excuse me, this is probably going to be the most yawn filled video for my YouTube ever. But anyway, after our initial sparring session, we both agreed, and we had a little conversation, and we both agreed that we were fairly equal in terms of skill. She's actually a little bit faster than I am because she specializes in speed over power. I specialize in both speed and power because I'm not very flexible. I can't do a lot of the really fancy moves that you see a lot of master swordsmen do, even in the middle of a battle. Because like in the middle of an actual battle, you would occasionally in an actual historical battle, you would actually see master swordsmen do very fancy techniques every once in a while. Not very often, but every once in a while they would pull off a very really show offy technique to try to disorient their dis I can't think of the word, confuse or stun their opponent to where they could have an opening for to attack, basically. And but my point is I can't do that because I'm not very flexible. I know I can do some techniques, but I'm not nearly advanced enough to pull off a lot of them. Even though I know. Again, I'm sorry, guy. I really am sorry. And if I'm making anybody that's watching this yawn because of the fact that I'm doing it in the video, I do apologize heavily for that. But anyway, like I said, I'm not very good. I'm not that good with a sword yet, but I'm not terrible at it either. And neither was she. She was, like I said, she and I were about equal in our level of skill. I have great respect for her, and she had respect for me because she was actually pretty much undefeated for most of the first half hour of the sparring match, or of the the whole program. I use quotes for that because it's not in the schedule. It's one of those programs that MTAC never actually put in the schedule. It's one of those programs that's more fan run rather than staff run. The staff knows that it's going on, but they approved it to the point where they actually let basically fans run it, and they actually have security. They have standard law. They have security. In very certain places around the courtyard to keep a close eye of what's going on and make sure that nothing really serious happens. Which brings me to my next point as to why I'm laying in the bed right now, other than the fact that I'm about to go to sleep. During my second match against another opponent who I had actually had a very long conversation with earlier in the day, way before the event took place, about a minute and 10 seconds into our sparring match, excuse me, I twisted my left knee, and within 10 seconds, I had hit the ground. I didn't hit the ground very hard. It was a 10 it was a literal it was literally a 10-second fall. It took me about 10 seconds to fall to the ground. You'll see that in the video because I'm going to actually post it at a later date. I don't know when I'm going to post it, but I'm going to post it at a very later date because I feel that for anyone that wants to avoid the mistakes that I did, they need to see what I did wrong so that they can try to avoid making the same mistake if they're doing sword sparring or any kind of sparring in general, or doing like a sport activity, or just doing anything that involves using your legs a lot, which is normally what I don't do. But at one point, I went to make a left to right, side to side cut towards my opponent, and the way that I turned my body, my left leg turned inward the wrong way. Instead of staying locked in a place like it was supposed to be, it actually turned into the cut. And when it did that, my left knee popped a little bit, which is initially what that was initially what sent me down. But after about 10 minutes, my knee actually stopped hurting. Like, it's not even throbbing anymore. I mean, I still feel a little bit, actually, now that I think about that. But it's not hurting nearly as much as it did when the pop initially happened. I'm not entirely sure what popped. It felt like honestly, it felt like my bone, like my actual knee bone popped. It felt like that popped. But more than anything, it felt like it popped out of place. Like, I honestly thought I dislocated my knee. And it was fortunate that there just happened to have been an off duty nurse in the courtyard, and she came up. I'm sorry, guys. I like I said, I'm tired, and I'm about to pass out. So anyway, she happened to kind of see what was going on because she was watching the event, and she took a look at both of my knees because I told her that it was my left one that kind of blew out underneath me. She compared my left knee to my right knee to see if there was anything wrong that or anything that was missing that shouldn't be missing or anything out of place that shouldn't be out of place. And fortunately, she could from feeling it, she could tell that I didn't really break anything or not even dislocate anything, which was my biggest concern. Which I thought I dislocated my leg. I honestly thought I dislocated my knee, like from my knee down. I honestly thought I dislocated it from the way I turned. But I've had several different opinions over the last few hours since it happened. It happened at about 9 o'clock earlier tonight, and like I said, it is now about 2:30 in the morning. It's actually 2:31 in the morning. So over the last several hours, I've had multiple different medical opinions from ranging from an off-duty nurse to a con goer who used to serve in the military who had to study medical terms to the actual convention medics that are on the clock medical professionals. And I've only had one opinion tell me that it's possible that I may have torn a ligament in my left leg, in my left knee, because he did the same techniques that everybody else did. He felt both of my knees to make sure that everything was in the right place in terms of the bone structure. But he he kept urging me to go to the hospital, which I unfortunately cannot do because I don't have insurance and I can't afford a hospital bill right now because I can barely afford the rent at the apartment that I live right now. I can just barely get by every month paying that off. But anyway, I he kept trying to urge me to get in the wheelchair to go to the hospital. Kept trying to he kept trying to push me to make the decision to go to the hospital. But he can't force you can't force somebody to go to the hospital if they really really do not want to. And the main reason why I chose excuse me, the main reason why I chose not to go is because I had a similar accident happen at MTAC 2015 2 years ago. It happened on a Sunday rather than a Saturday, or a Friday rather than Saturday. And it happened fairly early in the day instead of almost the end of the night, like this accident happened, like this accident did today. And basically, what happened there is I slipped as soon as I got in the door of the hotel, and because I had been soaked by pouring rain and hail trying to get out of the storm because we had a very bad storm that day. And as soon as I got in the hotel, the next thing I know, I'm on the floor and the hotel's front door is to my left. I didn't just slip, I slipped, spun in midair, and landed flat on my back. And actually, doing that almost tore my lower back muscles. I actually, when that happened, that almost permanently damaged my lower back. Like I already had onset arthritis down there in my lower back due to me being overweight, not helping the issue, obviously. But when that happened, it really flared it up to the point where I was in so much pain and could barely walk. I actually had to use a cane for the longest time until I had healed enough where I could actually move on my own, which really sucked, honestly. And here's the thing: when I slipped, everyone in the hotel or all the staff of the hotel came rushing right up to me, trying to to make sure I was okay and everything. And they called the paramedics against my will, against my saying not to. And the paramedics, they got me in the ambulance, and they rushed me to the hospital, and they did the X-rays and everything. And that ended up costing me the ambulance ride and the hospital visit ended up costing me around $1,400, which to most people that doesn't sound like a lot of money and that doesn't sound like a big deal, but to me it really was a big deal because at that time I was unemployed, and at that time, much like this time, I didn't have insurance. I don't have insurance now. So I was unable to afford any of that. I actually had to have help paying that off. It took a while, but I eventually I eventually had that took care of. But that's the main reason why I kept denying it, because I even told them that. I told them that another incident happened in this same hotel. This is the same hotel that it actually happened in 2 years ago, as a matter of fact. And I even told them that. I told them why I refused to go, because I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the money to pay for an ambulance ride or even a hospital visit like that. If I'm the patient, I cannot go to a hospital if I'm the patient and expect to have the money to pay for it, because I don't have insurance. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to worry about it, because insurance would cover at least 80% of it. At the very least, I mean, I would still have to pay a little bit of it, but I would only have to pay about 20%, which that's not the point. The point is the medic that looked at my leg, or yeah, that looked at my knee, he basically said, "I don't have X-ray vision, but as far as I can tell, you didn't break anything, but I think you may have torn a ligament." Even his assistant said that it's possible that that could have happened, which really sucks, because if I did that, that means I will have to give up sparring for good, because my if I can't use my legs doing something that extreme, I'm gonna have to give it up completely, and that really pisses me off. I'm sorry to to kind of sort of curse, but I feel like I have the right to do that, because that honestly pisses me off. It really does, because I love to spar. I love the art of the sword. I love being able to to learn more about how the sword works, how it flows the way it flows, how it acts the way it acts, and stuff like that, and learning the different styles and techniques and how to use them the right way, and this, that, and the other. If I have actually torn a ligament, that's all gonna have to go out the window, because there's not many sword fighters in a wheelchair, let alone using a pair of crutches just to walk around, or at least a cane. So I'm really hoping that I didn't tear a ligament, because more than anything, it felt like I sprained my leg. I keep saying leg. If more than anything, it felt like I sprained my knee. And I'm really hoping that that's the case, because if it's anything worse than that, I'll have to give up. I'll have to give up being a swordsman. And I really, really don't want to do that, because I love being able to, like I said, I love being able to use the sword. I love being able to pick one up and being able to use it at any time, because it allows it. It's one of the most therapeutic things that I can actually do to relax. Yes, ironically, I'm having to move around a lot, let the blood flow a lot, get my heart pumping, and I'm in the moment and everything. But that's usually if I'm against a partner. But when I'm by myself, I don't have to spar against somebody to use a sword in an even more therapeutic way, because I wouldn't even use the really fast heavy drills or anything. I would actually go slow with it. Just do a lot of stretches and a lot of different exercises that are very calming, soothing, and therapeutic. Like I keep saying, it really helps. It really helps to relax me both in body and in mind, and it just it puts me at peace basically. And if I have to give that up, I mean, if I have to give up the sparring, that's really gonna suck. I'm not gonna give up the sword in completely. If I did do permanent damage to my knee, which, like I said, I hope I didn't, but if I did, I will have to give up doing that. But I'm not gonna give up using the sword in general, because, like I said, I could give up the sparring, but I'm not giving up the sword. I will continue to use it if that's the case. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm gonna try in the next couple of days to go see a proper doctor in my hometown. Unfortunately, their offices are not open on Sunday. I'll have to go in on Monday, fairly early on Monday, to get them to take a look and see what's going on, and hopefully get a proper answer, get a really good answer, because I want to know what happened to this knee. If I only sprained it, all I have to do is, keep, take some medicines, uh, occasionally put some, like, aspirin cream, or something on it to help it relax or whatever. And then, exercise that leg, which, even if I did tear a ligament, even if that's what happened, I can actually do exercises with this leg to help it heal faster. If I tore a ligament, that's permanent. The ligaments don't grow back. Once it snaps, it snapped. That's it. It's over. It's done. Cartilage is the exact opposite. If it breaks, it grows back, but it's not as strong as it was before. It's not like actual muscle. When the actual muscle tissue snaps and breaks and regrows, it gets stronger, because that's how you build. That's how you build muscles, because you're basically breaking your muscles and rebuilding them. That's why they call it bodybuilding, because that's how it works. Cartilage and ligament don't work like they don't work like that. Once you tear cartilage, it grows back. Like it reconnects itself, but the connection is weaker than it was originally. Ligament is permanent. Once it's snapped, that's it. That part of the tissue is pretty much useless at that point for the rest of your life. Even with surgery, it's completely permanent. There's absolutely nothing that can replace it. There's nothing that can fix it that I'm aware of. At least with modern science today. 20 years from now, when I won't need that, they might come out with it. I don't know. But like I said, I'm hoping that it's not the case, that I merely sprained my knee and that I just need to take a couple of days to get it to heal, where I can actually walk on it properly, where I can actually put more pressure on there. As it is, I can barely limp right now as it is. But anyway, that's it for this episode of Woodbury 90s vlog for MTAC 2017. Look forward to the conclusion of MTAC of the volume. Look forward to the conclusion of the MTAC 2017 vlog later in the week. Probably maybe next Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not sure what day yet, but it's going to be sometime later in the week after I've already been home. Because tomorrow is obviously Sunday. It's the last day of the convention, and it's going to be the same day that I may or may not be able to make it to work. After I did this to my knee, I don't know if I'll be able to actually go to work tomorrow night. I'm hoping that I can. At least I'm going to try. But there's no promises there. But anyway, that's it for this episode of the vlog. So this is Lordberry 90 signing off for now. And remember, if you're not true to yourself, you're not true to the world.